So the Bangalore airport market itself would have been anywhere easily more than 1,500 crores.
Today, we have Vikas Bardia, who built a luxury cab service company worth 25 crores in just 2 years. Shoffr is a Bangalore-based EV cab service solving for sustainability while maintaining premium customer experience. In this episode, we dive deep into 3 core insights into how Vikas is building a mega cab service.
Just walk me through like early life and how did you end up in Bangalore?
So I'm born, brought up, spoiled in Calcutta. My family is originally from Rajasthan and I was in Calcutta till I was 18. Before Bangalore, I was working in London. I got bit by the fintech bug in London. There was so much happening in the fintech world in London at that point in time. And India was just kind of like starting up in that sense, especially in the world of finance. But the thing was I couldn't find like a fintech job in London, which also sponsored a visa.
Okay.
So at some point, I was like, okay, do I want to do this? India anyways was like a very big growth story at that point in time. I decided to kind of like just pack things up there, move back to India. And then I moved to Bangalore to explore. I was at that point considering a few options. 2-3 months later, once they closed their Series A basically, or just about when they were kind of like joined small case.
So, and how did that transition to EV came in? What was that flow?
One of my friends was looking to buy an SUV and he was test driving a bunch of different cars and we test drove the Nexon EV. And while I had known of electric vehicles for like a while, like even sold electric mobility small case and all that, I had never experienced one. And that experience, that sitting in the car, turning the ignition on, not even realizing that the car is switched on, like it was so silent. That experience was wow. And with EVs, there was a simple thing. There was a initial higher price delta between the initial purchase, but the running cost is 90% cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's a simple math model, like how many kilometers do you run, which then determines how long will it take for you to recover that 3 lakh. And in his case, because his usage was like some 1,000 kilometers a month, it would have taken him 5.5-6 years to just recover that 3 lakh. So it didn't make sense for him. But then you're like, yeah, if like commercial guys run 200-300 kilometers a day. If you're running for 9,000 kilometers a month, suddenly it makes a whole lot more sense. So that was the starting point of moving to EVs or looking at EVs as like a thing.
Give me like an idea. So right now you guys are at 80 cars. What is the market opportunity in India? And maybe talk by market. Like you can just talk about, let's say Bangalore as a market and then expand from there.
Firstly, this is a very established market. Let me be clear in saying that, right? Before Uber, Ola existed, there was a taxi market. Then Uber, Ola came. Now there are new age startups coming. But the taxi market has been around for a really long time. It's not like people are trying to establish a new market. They're just trying to capture a share of that in their ways. I think the taxi market opportunity in India is fairly big. The numbers range a lot from like $7 billion to $12 billion. But I think it's fair to say like the airport transfer market should be between $1 to $2 billion in India. The corporate travel market should be around $2 billion. The outstation market should be anywhere between $5 to $7 billion market. And then there is this intracity on-demand sort of a market, which again would be anywhere $4 to $5 billion. And this is all at like a national level, but about 70% of this comes from like top 7 cities in India. So the Bangalore airport market itself, before T2 opened, would have been anywhere easily more than 1,500 crores. About 30,000 trips happen on a daily basis, where one side is the airport. And this is done by like anywhere between 7 to 10,000 commercial cars. This doesn't include the buses, it doesn't include the private cars. This is just like the commercial car space.
The Mecca of growth is back. We are hosting the 20th edition of the GrowthX Demo Day. And the idea is simple. Top GrowthX teams will present in-depth growth strategies, and over the course of these pitches, you'll learn how to design your revenue model, understand nuances of customer acquisition, onboarding, and retention. The GrowthX Demo Day is joined by founders, product, and marketing leaders of the startup ecosystem. It's on 28th July and you can join the event for free. But we have limited invites and it's first come first serve. So grab your online passes quick. The link to grab a pass is in the description.
So you did this whole 3.5 months of research and you finally started Shoffr. So tell us about Shoffr, what it exactly does and what's the core insight?
So Shoffr is a premium ride-hailing service or a taxi service. If you ask me very simply, we are trying to build the gold standard of rides, which stands for a very high quality service. The core insight that we had from that 3.5 months of research was the fact that firstly, everyone who was building with EVs was building it in the same way, like using pretty much the same model, same cars, all of it. Secondly, the other insight I had was a lot of it is not rocket science. It's just having the right business model, which then allows you to do things in a sustainable manner. Like the problem with this space has never been about scaling. The problem has been scaling in a financially sustainable manner and building things like that. Anyone can add 100 cars, but if you can't do that sustainably, then somewhere or the other, you have to be compromising on the experience, not just for the users, but also for the drivers, who are the most integral part of this of a business like this.
What is the core of, when you say gold standard of rides, walk me through the value chain here. What does gold standard mean from the time I even decide to book a Shoffr to the time I reach my home or office or wherever I want to go to?
See, when we started out, the experience was quite broken. Not the digital experience, like you could seamlessly book something, but it's the offline where things would break. Like, the driver wouldn't come or would not answer, or there would be many cancellations. And if cars did show up, they would not be like in a great state. No one would turn on the AC and there'd be fights on that. So for us, in some ways, building a superior experience was somewhat like it was just doing some hygiene work. The standards were quite low, which meant that if we just didn't do those things that the other competitors had going on for various reasons, you would anyways be far ahead. But what the gold standard, or what we build and offer, is that, look, you essentially are booking a taxi because you have to go from one point to another point, right? That should be seamless. It's great if you get a fancy car or whatever, but ultimately you want a hassle-free ride. And that means everything from like the booking experience being simplistic to the driver not basically creating issues, in ACs being turned on. If you don't want music, then no music. If you want music, then have you play your music. We've put water and tissues in the car. That's just because it just makes for a better ride. And travel, like, in a city like Bangalore, you can't really do much about traffic. But if you have a 1 hour commute, like our thesis is that, we can't change traffic, but we can kind of make it at least a lot more comfortable for you.
What I want you to do is imagine the cost of the car being 100 rupees. The 100 rupees cost, how do you recover the 100 rupees? And when does it start making money? And how much money will it make for you over the lifetime of the car? And at one point, you will move that car and get the fresh one. Like, the cost of maintaining the asset becomes higher than the cost of operating.
If the cost of the car is 100, you are firstly putting anywhere between 5 to 15 from your pocket. The rest is being financed. And then you have to see what your monthly expenses look like and kind of estimate what the monthly revenue can look like. And hopefully there's a gap, right? You earn a lot more revenue than you have expenses operationally. So if you assume a 5-year life, if you're buying a car that, let's say, is at 100, ideally you should be able to make anywhere between 300 to 400 over that 5-year life. There will be things that you can get better estimates about. So for example, EMIs will be known, right? You will be like, okay, my EMI will be, let's say, 7 rupees each month. And that will be fixed. So that's like a known cost that will not change in your modeling. Driver salaries also kind of you can gauge and come to a fairly reasonable estimate as to what that will look like. Then there will be things like charging, which is essentially the cost of running or cost of fuel in this case. So these will be the costs that are there. Now then there will be unknowns. Unknowns in the sense like, okay, what will maintenance look like? You can kind of guess that, but you will never really know that till such time you actually start doing it. If the point is to kind of build out a model before you take a decision like this, then there will be some variability that you have to introduce in that modeling. And that is what margins kind of allow you to do. It allows you to be like, okay, look, I have this much margin, even in the worst case.
So tell me this. So you said word of mouth definitely works for you. What happens when a particular customer takes a ride? How does that help you get repeat? And how does that help you get new customers?
So we get about 75% of our revenue from repeat users, which is insane. We have spent zero on marketing even after all these months. And our existing users go out and recommend and bring new users. And there is no referral scheme. They get no benefit out of any of this, yet this has happened organically like this. And I think that is something that, we are very mindful of the experience that we provide. Like for us, like that's the true North Star.
What's next for Shoffr? What does the next 12 months look like for the business, and what are you most excited about?
It's building out a team, which is what I'm most excited about, which is also what is most important right now for us. So that is the most time-consuming, challenging, and exciting part that is going to unfold in the next 6 to 12 months.